Hello and welcome to Helping Other People Excel, or HOPE as the acronym is. And we appreciate your joining us today and letting us enter into your homes and share this next half hour with you. And we hope that you'll learn something along with what we've been learning as well. So before we get started, I want to thank WCET Television for all of their fine efforts in producing this show, or program, I guess you call it. I don't know, it's not too much of a show. We don't have monkeys or elephants or anything like that. But for producing the program, JB and the engineering staff do a fine job here and making this program a success and a possibility for you. We also appreciate all this fine digital equipment that they've been using for the last few months. It's definitely really nice, and you know, it even makes me look good. And then of course we want to thank our sponsors for all of the support that they give us. First of all, Pamper Me Naturally. If your skin could talk, it would say, Pamper Me Naturally. And you can go online to pampermenaturally.com and find a nice list of soaps and lotions and lip balms and salves, all of the things that are designed to pamper your skin and help you do better. They've been making these products. It's a little cottage-based business. They've been making all these things in their home for, geez, I don't know, as long as I can remember, maybe 20 years. And it's just really good products, and I know that you'll appreciate them. They like to have the challenge of the ingredients challenge. If you take your own product and you look at the ingredients list, you'll see lots of foot-long words that you can't pronounce, and I'm not even going to try this time because I've done that before and it sounds silly. But anyway, the Pamper Me Naturally products are all very easy to read words, things like oils and you know, things that, essential oils and things that can actually be eaten. So I know that you'll appreciate their fine quality, clean skin pampering products. So pampermenaturally.com. And then Perry's Place at 90 North Main in Cedar Springs. He has fine herbs and teas and more things to help the inside of you. So the skin from Pamper Me Naturally is on the outside. We get that taken care of. Perry's Place has the essential oils and herbs and things like that to help us do better on the inside and feel better there. And then of course we here at Hope try and work on helping you with your inner being, your spirit, to encourage you and uplift you and help you to do better in your day-to-day lives. Last but not least, we have Uncle Jim's Jerky. Matt is my buddy. He's just recently acquired that fine organization, and the jerky there is just really amazing. It's some of the best jerky I've ever had. I really enjoy the hot and sour, I think it is, he calls it. I like my stuff a little spicier anyway, and so that works out good for me. But it's almost like, you know, smoked, salted steak. It's just good stuff. And I know that you'll enjoy it. It's not tough and leathery like some of that stuff you get at the gas station. Used to eat that stuff all the time, and to this day I really don't know why. After eating Uncle Jim's jerky and enjoying that so much, I just can't go back to that shoe hide stuff that you get at the store or the grocery store or the gas station. So anyway, those are our fine sponsors. If you remember to, when you order or talk to them, tell them that you heard about them here on WCET and on Helping Other People Excel. We would appreciate that, because I know that they would appreciate knowing their advertising and support has been helping out and making a difference in your life. So today I have an interesting question. It was told to me, I don't know, a couple, 3 years ago. A little statement of whether you think you can or whether you think you can't. You are right either way. And the first time I heard that, I was kind of excited about it, but you know, it's just really kind of an interesting dichotomy, because how can you be right either way? How can whether you think you can be right or whether you think you can't be right? It seems like in our world today that we want definitives, we want labels, we want things that we can even stereotype maybe, and we oftentimes do. Oh, you know, Fords are no good, we want Chevys, or vice versa. You know, you got the Dodge fans in there, maybe you like the Spartans, maybe you like the Wolverines, you know, Everybody's got their own little stereotype about that team or that car or that person. And we want to be able to have things that we can identify, things that we can put our finger on and quantify and say, okay, this is how it is. We can make a blanket statement and say, this is how it always is. But that little statement is not that way. It's kind of a weird little glitch. It's a weird monkey wrench in that wanting things to be consistent and the same all the time. Whether you think you can or whether you think you can't, you're right either way. It's so odd that you could be right either way, but what I'm beginning to understand is that it's not about quantifiable things. It's not a static thing. In the IT world, we have static IP addresses, and then we have dynamic IP addresses, and those are basically addressing schemes for computers that static ones stay the same all the time. Dynamic ones always change, and you can count on those. You can count on the static ones being the same. You can count on the dynamic ones changing. Some have said that the only thing that's consistent or doesn't change in life is change. We're always going to have change, and that's one thing that will never change. Kind of is the same as whether you think you can or whether you think you can't, you are right either way. And so, you know, that's something that I pondered, and I thought, well, that's so unique because how can both be correct? And what I'm starting to understand is that it really all depends on us. How do we think? Do we think we can? Then we're correct, we can. Do we think we can't? Then again, we are correct because we can't, because we've set that thought process in our mind. We've set that concept, that idea in our, not only in our mind, but what we think, as we've talked about before from Dr. Earl Nightingale's, I think he's a doctor, Earl Nightingale's speech, The Strangest Secret in the World, which I think is just absolutely phenomenal, by the way, if you haven't already got that impression. Maybe you haven't seen my shows before, but you know, if you get a chance to go watch Earl Nightingale on YouTube or something, The World's Strangest Secret in the World, maybe it might be. However it's phrased, I'm not sure. Might be both. But, you know, he says that what we think about most of the time is what we wind up getting. It's what we reap. It's like planting seed in the soil. It's like planting a field of corn or a field of wheat. Whatever we plant in that soil is what's going to grow, and whatever we plant in our mind is what's going to grow. And that's why, whether you think you can, you've planted that seed in your mind, you think you can, or whether you think you can't, that seed gets planted in your mind. You're right either way, because whatever seed you plant is what's going to grow. And that's what I really love about Earl Nightingale's program, his speech there, is that he really draws that out and brings that to the forefront. I watched another interesting video this week from a man by the name of Bob Proctor, and he was explaining about the law of attraction. And I know some people think that's a bunch of hooey or hogwash, as my old minister used to say. He'd say hooey all the time. That's a bunch of hooey. And maybe it is, but I don't think so. I kind of think that the law of attraction is like so many other laws, that it's an absolute. It's one of those things that is for sure. Like gravity. If I take a ball and I drop it into my hand, it's going to fall. It will always fall. It doesn't sometimes go the other direction and come up into my other hand unless I've got some kind of sleight of hand or trick going on there. Gravity always makes things fall. Electricity always flows from the little trick that my electronics teacher taught years ago, is that it doesn't flow from the positive to the negative, it flows from the negative to the positive. But it always flows the same way, regardless. Water always goes downhill. It always seeks its own level. Those are constants. Those are always the same. And the law of attraction is another one of those, like the laws of gravity and the laws of physics. The law of attraction says that you attract what you think about. The Bob Proctor's video talked about, and again I found that on YouTube, it talked about how what we think about becomes almost like an electrical charge or like a magnet. You know, the North Pole is attracted to the South Pole. I don't know how many of you passed science class, but I wasn't real good at it. But the North Pole attracted to the South Pole. And so, you know, if you had a magnet, then one pole was attracting the other and they would come together. If you put two like poles together, they would push themselves apart, you know. And so the law of attraction, like the law of magnetism, really is a law, kind of a separate law of magnetism. We attract what we think about, because what we think about is what charges our being with that polarity. Bob Proctor talks about how we are, as people, are frequencies. We're a bunch of tiny little cells. If you could look at us in a microscope, you'd see tiny little cells that are constantly in motion. And he said that when we come into this earth, we inhabit these bodies. My buddy likes to call them a meat suit, which, you know, is kind of a little harsh sounding, but it's kind of a reality. It's a suit that we wear while we're here on this earth. But when we come into this, it's vibrating, it's energy already, and it's already active and so on. And Bob said that if you were to take and look at your body after you've left it, you would see, if you looked at it under a microscope and examined it, that it was still moving. It's always moving. Rob Robson would say you're either ripening or you're rotting. And we have that in our own emotions and in our own attitudes. We're either ripening or we're rotting. But either way, there's this energy that's in motion all the time. If you were to look at yourself under I don't know what they call the things that see your heat image, but it's a special camera that sees heat, it sees energy. And you would be able to see that your body is indeed energy, and it's always in motion, it's always there. And it just changes form sometimes when we pass on, when we leave our bodies. We still are energy in motion, we're just in a different form of motion. And so everything around us, all matter, is energy. It's all different frequencies. But whatever frequency we charge ourselves with, that's what we attract. Look around you at your friends. Most of them are pretty much like you. That's what we've attracted. We are at a certain level. We are at a certain comfort zone. And so, you know, even income-wise, you look at the people around you. If you took all of their incomes and added them all together and then averaged them all out, yours would be right in there with theirs, because that's what we attract. So if you want something different in your life, and I know we've talked about this before, if you want something different in your life, you've got to do something different. You've got to change that charge in your life so that you start attracting the things that you do want, and maybe putting off some of the things that you don't want. And so, you know, it doesn't happen right away. Sometimes there's a delay factor, and the things that you have to start thinking first. You have to start thinking those thoughts. You have to start changing the way you think. You have to start thinking about the things that you desire and that you want. And you also have to start learning some principles on human behavior and how people interact with each other, because that is so important. I know that I've heard of men who were extremely successful, ran huge companies, and you walk into their office and there was nothing hanging on the walls, no great degrees or graduations or doctorates, anything, even though they had those things. The one thing they had hanging on their wall was a Dale Carnegie certificate. And that one thing, their comment was the thing that made them the most wealthy and the most successful, because they learned principles of human behavior. They learned how to get along with other people. They learned how to help others get what they want so that they could get what they wanted for themselves. And those things are so critically important that this successful man hung only that on his wall, because he recognized that it was that made him successful. I was just recommending Dale Carnegie's book, How to Win Friends and Influence People, to a young man the other day, and good friend of mine. And I recommend it to everybody because I truly think that it's probably one of the best books you could possibly read, with information that will indeed change your life. And incidentally, if you haven't read it, you can go to my website. JB will put it on the screen there, and it'll be available there under products. You can find it there for purchase at a normal price. We don't have any markups that are huge or anything like that on our products. We just want to see that you get the information so that it can help change your life as it's changed mine. But so I recommended that he read that, and somebody else recommended to him another book. I'm sure it's a very good book. It was about science. It was more scientific. It was more about where we came from and how we got here and so on. And I'm sure that both are good information. However, of the two, I am convinced that Dale Carnegie's book on how to win friends and influence people will take you so much further than what you could get from that other book, because while the other book was teaching you, important scientific ideas and concepts, the most important thing that we possibly could learn is how to get along better with each other, because the raw materials of our existence are other people. Everything we do is about other people. Unless you happen to be one of those lone wolves who think that they can, do it all themselves. And I, used to be there. I used to be that guy. I always was priding myself on the fact that I built this, or I created that, or I fixed this, or something of that nature. But, and I was proud of that. But I've learned that teamwork is more important. I cannot do everything. I cannot play baseball by myself. I need other people for that. And just like I need other people to play baseball, I need other people in my life to do the things that they do best so that I can do what I do best, and consequently, we all collectively have a better life than what we could have had if we tried to do it all on our own. And so I've had to rethink and relearn myself that I cannot be a lone wolf. I cannot be everything to myself. I need other people as a teamwork. And that's why it's so important for us to know how to get along with other people and how to work with other people. And the principles that Dale Carnegie lays out in his book, How to Win Friends and Influence People, are so good at that. When you read it, you sit there and think to yourself, wow, it's such a simple concept, but yet I can see how what I've been doing is not working and how that could work so much better. Just simple things like praising people for the good that they do and not criticizing. Don't criticize, condemn, and complain. And those are three things that we've talked about before on this program, where it's important to do that when you're interacting with other people, because those things are negative and will tear down, and they will attract to you, via the law of attraction, negative things. And if you're having negativity in your life and you're not happy with the results of your life, those are three things that you need to cut out, and in exchange you need to replace them with accept, approve, and appreciate. We need to accept others where they are. We need to approve of the good things that they do and pat them on the back for it, and appreciate them for what they do correct. And it's so interesting that, it reminds me of the story of the old Indian, and he tells of his son or grandson, inside of us are the two wolves. One is the wicked evil wolf, and he wants to destroy us and to harm people and harm things. And then there's the good wolf who wants to build us up and wants to build up others. And the grandson said, well, grandfather, which one wins? And the grandfather said, the one that you feed will win. If we feed the good in other people, if we pat them on the back, if we accept and we approve and we appreciate them for what they do correct, and we starve the bad wolf by not criticizing, condemning, or complaining, that one little change in your life can be huge, because what you become in your life is going to have a lot to do with what you the people you surround yourself with and how you interact with them and how you get from them, whether you get happy workers that want to help you or friends that want to be there for you and help you with things, or whether you get people that are grudging and they, will do it because you're the boss, but, they really don't want to do it because you're a jerk. Not that you're a jerk, but I was a jerk. I remember being that way. And, I didn't realize how bad that hurt me. I didn't realize those principles that Dale Carnegie had laid down in his book. And, oddly enough, I read that book probably over 30 years ago. And still, I read it once. And it's like taking a shower once. I could say, well, I took a shower 30 years ago. Isn't that good enough? I read Dale Carnegie's book 30 years ago. No, you need it. You need to refresh it daily. You need to refresh it regularly. I don't take a shower every 30 years. I don't wait and take a shower once a month. I want a shower every day. I want to be clean. I want to feel good. And the book is the same way. You need to regularly bathe in these principles that he teaches in there, and you will then see a change in your life. We were talking about that delay factor of how you don't start attracting these good things right away with the law of attraction. You have to change your charge. You have to change your pole, if you want, of the magnet. You need to change the things that the charge that you're charged with will attract the things that you are getting. And if you want something different in life, you have to do something different. You have to change the way you think, plant new seed in that soil, and then you will start to reap. But just like planting and reaping, you don't plant corn and the very next day go out there and get, a bushel of corn. You plant a little kernel of corn, and at the end of the summer, you might get a bushel of corn. Maybe not a bushel from one kernel, but at any rate, there's a delay factor there. That's my point. There's a delay factor. You have to start planting in advance for what you hope to reap tomorrow. You need to start planting in your mind the things that you want to reap down the future. You need to start thinking about what your future is going to be like, what you want your future to be like. You want to live the life you've always wanted? That's how you do it. You got to think about it first. You have to picture that. You have to set up that target so you know what you're shooting at. You know what you're aiming for. And once you've set up that target, then you start dwelling on and thinking about those things. You start wanting that. You start imagining in your mind what it would be like to be there. And then maybe go there and look at it and see it. Maybe it's a car that you like. Go sit in that car. Feel that leather surrounding you. Smell the smell of that new car. Start it up and hear that engine rev. All of those things. Maybe it's a home. Go to that home and take your picture in front of it. Have somebody else take a picture of you standing in front of that home. Just do it quickly so that they don't call the cops. Otherwise, you might be, taking a trip in a little white suit. But you need to feel that. You need to place yourself there and see that and feel it in your heart and know that that's what you want. You can live the life you've always wanted if you plant the right seeds and then care for it and nurture it like planting any other seed until it grows to maturity and gives you the harvest that you're looking for. You can have and live the life you've always wanted if you just change the way you think. Change the things you're putting in your mind. Start thinking on the good thoughts. Start suppressing and starving that wolf of the criticizing, condemning, and complaining. Starve that wolf. Don't give him any food. Don't give him a minute's thought. If you start feeling those urges coming into your heart and you start feeling like you want to criticize or condemn somebody, squash it now. Instead, replace it. It's that replacement thing, Some people, when they quit smoking cigarettes, they want to chew gum or they take to eating or whatever it is. But you got to replace it with something. Nature abhors a void. So you've got this void. You're going to stop condemning, criticizing, and complaining. And instead you're going to accept and approve and appreciate. So when you feel like complaining, when you feel like criticizing someone for what they're doing wrong, instead look at them for what they are doing right and say, okay, what can I compliment this person on? Because the more you compliment them on what they do right, the more of the right they will do. The more you criticize them about what they do wrong, the more of the wrong they will do. It's just the way it is. The wolf that you feed is the one that wins. And so we need to, consciously do that. The tough part is that it's difficult. It's not an easy thing. And Bob Proctor was talking about changing our paradigm within us. Our paradigm is something that we've accumulated, all the experiences and stuff we've accumulated since the time we were little kids, and since the time of our beginning of our existence here. These experiences have all accumulated into what he calls a paradigm. And if you can't and don't change that paradigm, then it creates a dissonance. It creates a resistance to the change that you want to make and the improvements you want to make in your life. And so you have to work hard at changing that paradigm. You have to start putting more good stuff in there so that you have that as a group of experiences to draw from rather than the old stuff. You have to start feeding the good wolf and suppressing and starving the old wolf, the bad wolf. And like putting wood on the fire, you cannot have an instant fire. You have to put wood on first. You have to put a little kindling on it. You have to light it with a spark or a lighter and blow on it and fan it a little bit until it gets going. And sooner or later, as you do all those things, you will get heat. But you can't say, give me heat and I'm going to throw the wood on. It doesn't work that way. Our lives don't work that way in the same vein or in the same manner. We need to start the process, even though we don't see any results yet. Believing in our heart and knowing in our heart with faith. Faith is the substance of things hoped for and the evidence of things not seen. We need to know in our heart with faith that that is going to produce results and that we are going to get heat eventually. You know that when you put the wood on the fire, it's going to give you heat eventually. You know that. And just like you know that and believe that and accept that, you have to know and accept and believe that as you change the way you think, as you start planting good seeds, as you starve the bad wolf and feed the good wolf, that you too will see changes coming in your life that will make a difference for you in your life and help you live the life you've always wanted. I wish that I would have learned these principles 50 years ago. Okay, I was only 4. But let's say 45 years ago. If I could have started learning that stuff 45 years ago, how much of a difference it would have made in my life. And I am so overjoyed to see these young people that hear about Dale Carnegie's book or some of these other books that I've mentioned of our top 5 books. How to Win Friends and Influence People, The Magic of Thinking Big, How I Raised Myself from Failure to Success in Selling by Frank Betcher, and I can't get the other 2 off the top of my head here at the moment, and I'm running out of time. But we are running out of time, and that's the sad thing. It always seems like our half hour goes so fast. I do appreciate and enjoy sharing this time with you. If we've been a blessing to you, if something that we've said has ministered to your heart and made a difference in your life and maybe started that process for you, if maybe you've started understanding about feeding the good wolf and starving the bad wolf, let us know. Drop us a line at jim.pate@gmail.com or give me a call at 616-799-0517. JB will put them on the screen for you. And hopefully we've been a blessing to you and we've made a difference in your life. We look forward to seeing you again next time here on Helping Other People